for a few different reasons, but the main reason is to share about returning to art in my 40s. And so at the top of the pandemic, um, I was what, like 38. And, you know, COVID happened and we were in isolation. And I returned to my art practice. So, a little bit of background. When I graduated from high school, I attended the Savannah College of Art and Design for a year. And initially, I was there for interior design and ended up not being able to finish, there because of finances. Money scale was really expensive. There wasn't a lot of support at the time. I, didn't know how to be in art school. And as a black woman in that environment, it was really hard to be around so many people who, had access to resources, had different types of supports for being in art school and art. I didn't know how to get access to the things that I needed. So I dropped out. And then my father passed away. And so I was really, really angry about that. And I ended up putting my creative process on the back burner because of grief. And I talked about this um, in my interview that I did with the Anchorage Museum when I wrapped up actually my very first residency that I had gotten after, returning after 20 years to my art practice. And so that's fast forward to the pandemic, which would have put me at about 20 years. And, throughout that time that I had stopped going to school, but then, started back during the pandemic, I was doing like adjacent kind of creative things. So I always, you know, had put on like creative, types of activities and workshops and everything. And then decided that, I still wanted to do that. Whoa, where are all y'all from? And then you that is being mm, y'all are strange in this chat. Y'all are very strange. Um, I hope that you go to somebody else's live and, harass them and be rude. But let me finish telling my story about returning to art because that's what this live is about. My day is going okay. I hope that yours is as well. Um, and so, yeah, I talk more about that during my interview with the Anchorage Museum after my first residency had wrapped up. And so, since that time, I've done like different exhibitions, residencies. I've sold a few art prints. I was in a biennial exhibition and have just done like different creative projects and, just re entering myself into the creative world. And I think, like, my initial, what I want to say right now, because I want to try to make this a series, because I see that a lot of folks have returned to their creative practices, and especially a lot of older folks that, are also returning to those practices as well. I think one of the things that was super important for me to remember initially was to just get started. So just get started, to experiment with anything and everything, um, to research, the things that you're interested in, whether that be subjects or materials or mediums or people, different artists. You can do that as well. And, I think that your journey and your path can look different, from everyone else's, um, exhibitions, and, going to different kind of museum settings to see like what they were offering for partnering with artists. That's not necessarily, the way everybody's walk as it relates to being an artist. And for me, I'm not sure if that's a direction that I'm going to continue in. But with those experiences, it made me just put myself out there. Like, I did everything, all the proposals that I wrote up, the art that I created, the talks that I had, the emails that I sent. I was scared to send it, submit it, create it, and I did it anyway. And, I think that's like the best kind of initial, like, first step that I could tell anybody is to, like, go for the things that you're interested in, do it scared, um, you know, push yourself. um I did not, I didn't, as I kind of started off talking about, I didn't finish art school. I don't know if I'm gonna return to that. I don't know if I'm gonna go that route, so being like a non-traditional artist, a self-taught artist, like whatever kind of words you want to use there. um I think it's also, an interesting lane to be in, and a place to like build confidence, and things like that. Um, and I feel like, no matter what you put out there, it's going to be some good things. It's going to be some things, that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe, you know, I put that out there, or I said this, or I did that. But having regrets about not doing it, I think for me is greater at this point. Like I mentioned, there's 20 years in between the time that I initially went to art school and then now returning back to my art practice. And that's all that, I can kind of attribute me continuing to move forward with things, is just by like taking a chance on myself, and knowing that I can't at this point, the creative vibes and mind is too loud. I get inspired by so many different things, and not being creative was being more harmful. It had created just this very harmful dynamic within myself because I was putting, something that's really important to me on the back burner, and that wasn't helping me. And so, yeah, like I mentioned, in the pandemic, I found myself returning to many of the practices that brought me joy when I was younger, and art was one of them. And it has just been a wonderful way to come back to myself, a wonderful way to come home. And I want to keep sharing, about like some of the lessons that I've learned with returning to my art practice. And yeah, and some of the other activities that I've done during this time. Like I've, you know, put together some lectures and workshops on Black feminist art, and that's been like super fun. But I'll leave that for another day. Um, yeah, I just wanted to kind of give an example of what I was talking about in this video, which is just doing it, right? Like just putting yourself out there. And that's what I'm doing now by kind of starting this series talking about like some of the lessons that I've learned over the past like 3 years going into four, returning to my art practice. And so like now I'm 41, and it's been a wonderful way to, yeah, relearn myself and also come back to myself. So I will, this was really like chatty and rambly. I also got distracted by the people in the comments. It was a lot of random folks in here, which was interesting, but that's fine. Um, so yeah, this was like video one of my chatty, rambly lessons that I've learned, returning to my identity as an artist.